as raised question by Deepa, what we will do is we'll just revisit the types of storage mode quickly. All the 4 types of storage mode we discussed, and only the composite mode she need more detail. Who Deepa? Okay, and what is dual storage? When can I use that? Okay, dual storage is nothing but the combination of both import as well as the direct. One second, let me just report. Yeah, so the combination of both import as well as the direct query mode. Okay, so when can I use this type of storage mode? For example, here, so here we have only one fact table. Okay, and rest of them are all dimension tables. Forget about this one. I just remove the unnecessary thing here. I do a little bit cleaning here because this is going to be day 4. So that logically, if I give some meaningful name to the files, it will be helpful. So what are the types of fact tables are there? Can someone tell me? Those of you already worked in the BI space. Deepa, why don't you tell you have already worked in this one, right? What are the types of, for example, you have something transactional fact table. Okay, and what is the other things like aggregated fact tables? Okay, and what other things? What is factless fact? Any idea? We'll discuss about that later. It is too early to discuss. Okay, fine. But at this moment, you just think, this is a transactional fact table, and we have the dimension tables are there here. And these dimension tables, for example, here I just create the relationship between this one and this one using the customer ID. So I'm not sure why the customer ID is missing here. What went wrong here? I think mistakenly, one second, let me just connect the SQL server and then we'll pull the, I think there is some problem in this table structure because the customer ID column is missing. I'm going to use the direct query mode because the usually the fact tables are very huge. The transactional fact tables, it'll consist of it'll have millions and millions of records in it. Yeah, here customer ID is there. I'm not sure how. I think mistakenly I deleted it. Apply changes. Now we can see some kind of orange color on top of this table. I'm going to drop this table. We don't need it. The same table, if you import it, it puts the orange color. Maybe it's because of duplicate. And now still this color remains as it is. And here, this table, customer ID and customer ID, these two are same. Don't worry, I will explain the relationship creation between the tables. There is a separate session for that. This one, what I will do is I will just, this is an import, and I just go to the advanced, and I'm going to select the from import. Okay, this is an import, right? Okay, what I will do is, okay, instead of that, I will convert this as dual mode. There's a direct query mode. Okay, even this one doesn't make sense. Do we have date dimension here? Okay. So as we discussed yesterday, the direct query mode, you can use it if the volume of the data is very huge. So in that case, for example, if you select a visual, if you create a visual, they say this is a card visual. In this case, what will happen is you can use a single value here for this one. If I just put the sales amount or something like that, your sales amount, if I put it here, what happens is a query will be sent to your source system SQL server, because this table data was not imported locally, because it was I use the direct query mode. Okay, so in this case, when I create a visual, this is a card visual. Card visual, you can use only one the column. Okay, one field from your data set. Sales amount. Okay, it gives me this is the sales amount, but the moment you drop it here, what will happen is a query will be sent to your source SQL server. This is what your source SQL server. In this, the query will be fired. Okay, the output of that query will be sent back to your source system. Okay, so this is direct query mode. Fine. Import, you know very well. It will get cached locally. Okay, and what the hell? What is this dual mode? That is what Deepa's question. Okay, the live connection she was able to understand. And the thing is, what is the dual connection? When should I use dual connection? Supposing you have something like this. This is your sales fact table. And here's something else called sales aggregation table. Sales aggregation table. Okay, and this one, but you have something called date dimension. You create a separate dimension to hold all the dates. Okay, you might be asking, why should I create a separate date table? So only then you can do filtering. That we will discuss it as for data model session. Okay, in detail. I just put it in mute, some background noise. Okay, for example, here you have the order date. You have something order date or something like that. Okay, and here you have the date key column. So these two will get joined. Okay, so you join the tables with the common column, but here in this case, I know very well I wanted to use the dimension date dimension table. Using the date column, I wanted to filter the fact table with the product date order date column. Okay, and the next one is the same date dimension. I just got connected to this one. Here also you have something like date column here. Apart from this, you have something like region, quarter, and month, week, total sales, aggregated values, sum of sales, sum of units, sum of quantity, and count of the transaction. How many number of transactions were there in each region? How many orders were received? Okay, all the aggregated values you stored in a separate table, and all the transaction data you store it here. Since this one has huge volume of data, we have used the direct query mode. Direct query is used. Okay, in this case, I have imported this data because if I import this data file table from your SQL server to here, it is an aggregated table, hence the volume of the data will not be as big as this one. Okay, so hence I imported this one. So I have used the import mode for this. If I use import here mode for the date dimension, what will happen? If I want to filter this table, sales fact table, using the date column, what will happen? This is an import and this is a direct query mode. this data got cached in your local system, whereas this one is it's kind of a live data, right? Live data. So as and when the user raises the order, everything will get stored here. It's kind of a live data here. But here you are caching the data. Okay, so what will happen is when you cache the data, there could be chances, this data can become, right, this data will not be up to date, right? Let's assume that way, okay? Because you need to refresh the table which you use the import mode. That is one of the disadvantage with the import mode. But the advantage is the performance will be faster because the data get cached in memory. But if you use the import mode, what will happen is you are joining these two tables, right? You are joining those two tables and then you are getting the order date by sales amount. You want to find out the sales amount by order date. Okay. In that case, what will happen is this date value will get propagated here. Okay. And but if this data itself not up to date, what will happen? Here is a live data. Okay. But here, if the data is not up to date, then it will cause some kind of confusion, right? It will cause some kind of confusion. Apart from this, what will happen is, the date dimension, it is an import mode, but this is your direct query mode. When you join these two tables, see, if you store the date separately in the card visual, it will just pick up from the cache data. And if you store only the sales amount, like I've shown here, so this sales amount coming directly from your order fact table for that visual, hence there are no issues. But the moment when you join these two tables, what will happen is due to some kind of an out of sync, it can cause some kind of problem. Okay. And when it comes to this one, the aggregate table, for example, instead of, in that case, what you are doing is you are keeping it in direct query mode, right? In order to see, if you want to combine these two things, if you enable this table also direct query mode, you can switch from import to direct query mode, right? And in this case, what happens when you join this? Okay, there will not be any chances of out of sync. Okay, when it comes to date, this is fine. But when it comes to this table, I have used the import mode. Okay, for this, in this visual, I'm going to, so from this table, I'm going to pull some columns from my visual. Okay, something like this. Okay. So here you have region A, B, C, something like that. Here sales amount. Okay. So the total sales amount for each region is readily available here. Since it is locally available, aggregation is also one of the resource consuming tasks. What do you mean by resource consuming this task? Because it has to perform aggregation on a huge table and then put it in, and then update this table. It will take longer time because you are doing an aggregation on a huge volume of the data. Okay. So at the time of visualizing the data, if you, use the direct query, what will happen? For example, in this case, what will happen? You are doing some kind of aggregation, total sales in each region you want to do, sales by region you want to see the report. In that case, what will happen is the data is locally available. It will be pretty fast. And also you are using a slicer. The end user, along with this visual column chart, you have given a slicer. In the slicer, they can choose whichever region they wanted, whichever date they wanted. Right? So for example, they are keep changing the regions. What will happen is, so they selected north and south region. If it is in direct query mode, what will happen is this one will be sent to your source system and the query will get executed. It does the aggregation and then push it back here. So what we are doing is we do the aggregation and then we imported it here. In that case, what will happen is every time it need not to go to the source system SQL server. Okay. And since the data is locally available here, the performance will be faster. And also the volume of the data is not, it's kind of a pre-aggregated table. Pre-aggregated table. So in that case, what will happen? One time, every week end, you just import this table here. Or, for example, it's one time load, right? So the idea is every once in a week, if you refresh this data set, that is sufficient. Okay. But refreshing also, right? It's already aggregated in the source system. They would have used some kind of joins and some function, count function, all the things. And then that output will be, you are putting in some CSV file and then you refresh it here. Okay. Okay. Or in the SQL itself, you are, refreshing this data set, the sales aggregation table, so that this one will be up to date. So now we are using import, the performance will be faster since the data is available here. Whenever the user changes the regions, for example, initially wants to see North region, and next time he wants to see North and South region put together what is sales. When you keep changes the regions, what will happen is that query will be sent to your cache, and then it will be queried from your cache, and the output will be sent here. Since the data are available locally, the performance will be faster. See, the date table is connected with, see, now let's say if you use a direct query mode, what will happen? This one will work well because you are joining these two tables. This table is in direct query mode. But here, the direct query, if you join with the import, right, it will go to the SQL server unnecessarily. The whole purpose of using the import for the sales aggregate table, table is the data should be available locally so that the performance will be faster. So on the one hand, it is good. On the other hand, the same thing is not doing good job. In that kind of situation, you can go for dual. Power BI has an intelligence to understand when to query the cache data, when to use the direct query mode. You understood, right? This is what is dual storage. This is what the question asked by Deepa yesterday. After the session, she sent a question. And then I told her we will discuss in tomorrow's session. Okay, so that is what I clarified now. Direct, if you use this as an import, then it will work, right? But these two tables, this one is direct query mode, this is an import. There could be chances, right? The date that you stored, even if you use an import mode, what will happen is you need to refresh this data file. Due to some reason, it can become out of sync with this table data because every now and then the data gets added here, right? Due to some reason, if this one is not synced with, the recent order date or something like that, then it will not work well. So in that case, what will happen is, and sometimes what will happen is this is the issue, okay? And so for that, better you go for dual mode. So Power BI automatically determines when should I use direct query mode of this table and when should I use import mode of this table. Okay. The rule of thumb is, this is the one, all tables connected to both import table. 1 second. So this is the best practice. Rather than saying rule of thumb, this is the best practice. All tables connected to both import table and direct query table should be set as dual storage mode. So in this case, this is my date dimension table. This is my sales fact. This is my sales aggregation table. Okay. So in this case, this is all tables connected to both import table aggregation. This is your import mode, and here you have direct query mode. The dim date, right, should be set as dual storage mode. Okay. So in this case, those dimension tables, you connect it with the tables that has been set with the direct as well as the import mode, right? In that kind of situation, you can go for, and we have customer dimension. Not only this, there's something called customer dimension table. So in this case, also you can use for dual mode. Okay, because here also customer wise, and again region, you have something called dim region dimension, right? So you are connecting this table, these two tables with the table which is of the import mode, and the other one is on the direct query mode. That is what this one says. All the tables connected to both import table, okay, aggregation, both import table and direct query table should be set as dual mode. Hope it's clear for you all. And the next one is, yes, you had asked about this one yesterday, right? Can I, in a single Excel sheet, I have, or let's say I have 10 Excel files, and each Excel file, I have two pages are there. Let's take for the sake of simplicity, okay? Let's consider each Excel file you have two sheets are there. So 10 files into two, so 20 sheets. How can I combine? Yes, it is possible. I will just, I don't know how many of you tried this one yesterday. Anyhow, I will just show you quickly. It will not take much time. And what I in fact, I covered this in the past session. I don't know how I forgot this one. Okay, look here. I'm going to select more.